Hey, Peter.
Hey, can you see me?
I can't see you just yet.
Hold on, let me see what's going on here. There we go. Good.
Very good. So how's it going, Peter?
Things are going well. Things are going very well. How about yourself there, Joel?
Yeah, hanging in.
Good.
It was good to catch you. I know you've been very busy lately, but I try to blog, or I guess vlog on YouTube pretty regularly, giving updates with Jock and Roxanne and other people that are active in the movement. And what's going on with, you want to give people an update of what's happening in
movement land?
Yeah, movement land, yeah.
Let's see. Well, as of right now, I'm steadfast on the Zeitgeist Moving Forward film. So I've been a little detached, unfortunately. And on a very positive note, people have begun to take the reins on their own through their numerous chapters, and our admins have been really awesome on the site, and the chapter meetings, our national meetings, and the project meetings and team meetings, and our newsletter. And it's been wonderful to see everybody come together and start to get a decent sense of organization. Oftentimes beyond my expectation, considering how loose things have been for so long. And there's a great overhaul we're going to be doing with all the project teams and the general structure of the website. I'm trying to time a lot of this kind of overhaul with the release of the new film, because obviously the new film is in direct support of what we're advocating with the movement. But as far as I know, obviously I check in with everybody, but we're doing great. Things have been really positive. We're getting unique press still throughout the world. Obviously, we're still small, but considering the age of the movement and considering how difficult the concept is, as you know very well, and the ability of people to project into it, and the attacks, and the general noise that you tend to find, I'm actually extremely impressed with the integrity of the individuals that are doing stuff, and the pace at which development is occurring. So I'm very happy. It can always be better, but we're getting there. The real issue is the structural stuff for the movement and the way we navigate information amongst the chapters and the sort of bottom-up approach. And then, as I mentioned, there's a very large overhaul that we're trying to do within the structure itself regarding the teams and the projects and centering in and honing in. And when people come to the movement, they're going to be able to come to actual projects and teams as opposed to kind of floating through, the internet and reading information. We want to find a more streamlined way to get people immediately active. One of the big things I want to say to everybody that's watching this is that if you're not in a chapter or local chapter, please join one. Please join one in your area, and if you don't have one in your area, please start one. That's pivotal. This movement can't really exist in the digital realm alone. We need physical groups of people that represent their communities, and that's how the bridges will be made between different cultures and different nationalities and everything else. And hopefully, through time, we'll kind of merge together, and this idea will, in critical mass, this idea will take hold, and that's when larger order phases of the movement will begin, where more pressure is placed on the existing institutions to recognize the ideas and the reasoning and the importance of the sustainable notions that we advocate.
That's great. Speaking of the numbers of people involved in the ranks, you got any data on that? What are the numbers right now of people that are involved? I've heard Jock say that so many millions of people have actually seen the Zeitgeist films, but how many people are actually registered and active? Do you know that number, roughly?
It depends on how you define active. I mean, we have 422,000 registrations for our list, which is a pseudo membership. It's the join. It's very hard to make any other type of distinction. So when people sign into this, that's our sense of count. And we have about 45,000 registered individuals on our global forum site and the global interactive user accounts, that we have set up on the zeitgeistmovement.com. As far as actual activity, meaning street attributes, meaning real live things, they're sparse. I mean, Zeitgeist Day was a big success. We had 420 diligent events, not just little household events, but real events that occurred in venues and local establishments. And when you think about that, and you think about the dedication of those that are doing that, it's truly remarkable. But from what I can tell, the groups in most locations are still relatively small, but they're growing. So I think the question really isn't where we are now as far as exact numbers. It's the rate of growth that we're achieving over time. And we had a big acceleration around Zeitgeist Day naturally because it was an awareness day. And right now we're still growing, but it's it's a little dormant. And I think hopefully when my new film hits, it will spark a great deal of interest and railroad people into railroad's the wrong word, but people to recognize the movement and to see what's important with it. So the rates of growth are consistent, and that's very good. But we do need some spikes and punches. Yeah. I really couldn't give you, to answer your question though, I can't give you an exact number of active.
Oh, gotcha, sure,
but
yeah.
I would. Yeah, it's a difficult thing to assess. Just because someone signs up, joins the forum, doesn't necessarily mean they're doing anything else. But if you go across the internet, for example, I always check my Google alerts as far as what people are doing, for the Google alerts of the Venus Project, Google alerts for the Zeitgeist movement, anything else related, and I get to see this sort of activity that's generated, at least on the internet. There's always a little event happening somewhere in the world or in the States. And that's just how it starts. I think it's important people realize we're very much in our infancy at this stage. I mean, anything, people need to reflect on what Jacques has gone through for the past 70 years. He's been pushing this, and how frustrating, in my perspective, how frustrating it might have been for him. Yeah. Of course, if anyone knows Jacques doesn't really get frustrated. But I can only imagine. So the people will just, what I want to say though is people need to be patient, and they need to kind of become the ideas that we discuss, not get too hell-bent on it, meaning not to get too obsessive about it. There's that old phrase, the brightest lights burn out the fastest, meaning if you're too enthusiastic, if you're too gung-ho, and you don't realize the tremendous barriers that we face.
That's right.
You're gonna be very frustrated and upset. So you have to relax a little bit if you're dedicated to this movement and realize how difficult the path actually is. So I just want to point that out.
That's great. Well, so active chapters then, roughly, how many are there? So that people know.
We've got, I have to check the numbers, I believe we have 40 to 50 international chapters. We have all U.S. chapters. As far as sub-chapters, active chapters combined, for example, Canada has many. Canada probably has 40 or 50 sub-chapters alone, if I remember correctly. Sub-chapters in total, with chapters, I believe is around 150. Right. But don't quote me on that, I don't have it in front of me. That's a Gilbert question. Yeah. That's my jurisdiction, but the chapters continue to grow, and that's again the most important attribute. I want to reiterate that the way to look at this is not from the standpoint of fixed numbers, but the standpoint of growth, the standpoint of trend, and then you can begin to foreshadow what we can expect within a few years. I'm big on trend analysis. That's my that's one of my foremost interests in thinking about the way things actually work.
Yeah.
So it's not fixed realities. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, you used to do day trading or something. That was interesting, I thought, to find out. You've had some background before you started this direction and movement
right.
in looking at statistics and analyzing things. And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, while I despise Wall Street and I despise the market system, and I'm going to make a very unique issue out of it in the new film, the actual activity of pattern trading, which people aren't that familiar with, is actually a very unique science, if you want to call it that, because you're gauging, I don't want to get too complex on you, but you're gauging human behavior patterns in mass. And if you look at any statistical analysis, human behavior is actually quite predictable in mass. Group behavior is actually very predictable in the shorter term as opposed to the longer term. So when I was interested in that, I did pattern trading, day trading, meaning my holding period was only about 20 minutes. I'm what they would have called a scalper. And I got into this mainly because I wanted to get out of the 9-to-5 slavery position that I was dealing with occupations I didn't like. And at that point in time, with the general self-serving values that most of us have probably had at one point in time, I was like, what, this is the only thing I can find where there's no boss, there's no employees. It's just you and this abstraction known as the market system. And you can engage it, pull money out of it, lose money. It's a zero-sum game. Inevitably, it contributes nothing to society. But in my mind, at that point in time, was I need to do something to get out of this slavery world that's making me miserable. Yeah. So I did that in part-time. I never was able to achieve a full income on that where I could just live off of it. But as of now, I'm away from it. I'm so horrified by what has become of the free market system in this regard.